Welcome to the Weekly Juice Podcast, where we discuss all things real estate, personal finance, investing, entrepreneurship, and the many ways to achieve financial independence. We interview accomplished investors and entrepreneurs with the goal that their stories inspire you to take control of your financial future. Here to get your creative juices flowing, while also documenting their own personal investing journeys, are your hosts, Corey Jacobson and Ryan Bevilacqua.
Welcome back to the Weekly Juice. As always, it's your boys here with another episode. Today we interviewed Yaamu Camara. She is a real estate investor originally from Africa and has been in the States since, I believe, 2016. Yep. Started investing at age 2019 and in about 3 to 4 years has built a portfolio of over 32 units. She does a mixture between long-term rentals and Airbnb arbitrage or short-term rental arbitrage. Yaamu's story is absolutely incredible.
It's a mind-blowing episode.
I queued up a few times. I'll be honest, the first 15 minutes, my jaw was just on the floor. Just take the time to sit back and listen to exactly what she's saying. She talked about growing up in Africa in an orphanage and sleeping on a cardboard box every night that motivated her to eventually want to buy her own property. And she talks about all these different programs she came into to eventually land in the States and get a scholarship to college. And it just proved to Corey and I, we don't have any excuses. There are zero left for us. And it's amazing that someone out there in the world like her or she exists. I told her straight up, there needs to be a movie made about you because what you've done and your story is just so inspiring. And I think I just want to preach it and scream it from the rooftops.
She grew up in an orphanage, and the chances of her coming to the United States, she ended up going to Northwestern on a scholarship in Illinois. The chances of that happening are so slim that the perseverance that she had to get good grades, to make connections, she couldn't afford to go to high school. I think she was saying she had to pay for high school in there. So she was working and getting scholarships and then just was applying to all these programs and got accepted. And she actually came through on one of Obama's programs when he was the president. I'm not sure if the program still exists or if it was from when he was in office, but she ended up being able to get to Northwestern, then get her master's degree again on scholarship and just chipping away, just continuously showing up. And Ryan mentioned that it was kind of emotional just talking to her because it gave us such gratitude of the places that we came from and the issues that we have and how they kind of pale in comparison to some of the things that Yaamu has overcome. And I want to talk more about it in the intro, but I really feel like it wouldn't even do it a justice because her story is just it's beyond inspiring. And Ryan mentioned she has over 30 units. She's trying to grow it. She has a coaching program. She teaches people how to do this themselves. But I just cannot say enough about how awesome of a person she was.
To put into context too of the 32 units sounds that sounds pretty good to unit, but one of her properties is bringing in $20,000 in cash flow a month. That's one of her properties and she's got 32 of them. So to come from where she has come from to build up what she has she was equating the dollars when she was trying to tell us about the program she was buying in order to learn and study real estate. And it was equal to millions in Africa. And she's she made her first $8,000 and she was calculating the exact dollar figure she needed to buy her first property. And I don't want to jump in as much as detail as I possibly can because I'll give away all the best parts of the whole story. So I think without any more detail, we bring in Yaamu and let her tell her story.
Let's do it.
Yaamu, officially welcome to the Weekly Juice Podcast. Corey and I are so excited to have you on the show. We are excited to share your story with everyone, get to know you a little bit, and then hopefully get a little education from you and move on and see how you kind of developed your real estate portfolio. So if you could give us a little background intro on you.
Of course. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. This is a pleasure. I've always been watching you guys for a while. I follow you for a while. And you drop a lot of information that people that started like me go to these sites to look for information. Sometimes you don't know where to look for what podcasts is, and you drop in this kind of platform is what gets people get information. So I'm really excited to be part of
thanks for the kind words. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Of course. All right. So my name is Yaamu Dao, but a lot of people can't say my name. I'm from West Africa, so everyone called me Yaamu for short. And I came to the US in 2016. So West Africa, from the Gambia, a small country, and surrounded by water. It's usually called the smiling coast of West Africa, basically. I grew up as an orphan, and I lost my mom when I was 2. I lost my dad when I was 11. And my sister was forced to get married so she could take care of us, me and my brother. We were the youngest. I'm the last of 7. So I grew up in an extended family. In Africa, we live in villages, and villages have extended family homes. So I was brought up in a household of her in-laws. But yeah, so I wasn't really, I didn't have a great upbringing, childhood, but God is great, and God kept me going.
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, first of all, how humbling to hear that. It's somebody that's able to accomplish, and we'll get into this. You're a data scientist and you're a programmer, and you have over 30 rental units. You do Airbnb arbitrage, all of these things to come from where you came from. It's truly remarkable. And I wanted to pinpoint when you came to America, just the origin story of how you got here, and then what allowed you, do you think, to be so successful once you got here?
It's just determination, following your dreams and not giving up. So growing up in Africa, of course, the family wasn't well off. It's a village, and I didn't expect to get the best of things, but I was really good in school. I was good in mathematics. So primary school, junior school are usually free, but when you get to high school, you start paying, and you have to have connection to get to the next level. Of course, being from a small village, no connection to the government whatsoever, there are no chances. So I was relying on scholarship to push me through. So high school, then I got half portion scholarship to study at the university. So we only had one university then, University of the Gambia. So of course, I'm really good in maths. I had good grades, graduated with good grades in high school. So I got the scholarship, but there were problems because I couldn't afford the rest of it. So there was this Orphan program. It's a non-profit organization in the UK. My country is colonized by the British, so we had a lot of affiliation with the UK. So we had this non-profit organization called United for the Needy. So it's like they sponsor orphans that are doing good in school. So they were able to help cover the rest of the tuition fees. And my sister, of course, would borrow money here and there to help me out, of course. So went to university. Of course, everybody was like, oh, you're smart. You have to be a doctor. Because that's what everyone knew. You have to be a doctor. You have to be a secretary. As a girl, it's like a secretary or a doctor, right? So that's everything, because not everybody went to school. So being a doctor is a big accomplishment. I was good in chemistry, but I hated it. And I don't like blood. So I was like, there's no way I'm going to be a doctor. So the first semester, I was like, just doing the prerequisite course and everything. And then I stumbled upon a computer science program, and I was like, I like this. Like the first few classes, I was like, I kind of like this. So I stick with it. And usually they actually thought being a computer science meaning technical. Can you fix my phone since you're a computer person? And I'm like, that's not what I do. I do software. I write programs. But so I did computer science. My minor was in mathematics. I actually have a major in mathematics, but they would not let me graduate with double majors, paying just a single major tuition. But I was able to take multiple mathematics courses that would qualify as a double major. But my degree is a major and a minor in mathematics. So, because I really wanted computer science, but I didn't want to leave mathematics because I liked it. So before my final semester, a friend of mine had a connection where she was interviewed to work for a software company. So her boss was asking if she knew anyone else that would be interested in internship. So she called me. I was at school. She was like, would you be interested in internship? I told my boss that you're really good in my class, and he wants to see you now. Could you come? I was like, yeah, I'm at the cafeteria. I'll come now. So I went, took a taxi, like a fare, but we call it gele gele. It's like those big ones. It's like multiple people. I went there, dusty feet and everything. He gave me a test on the computer. I passed right away. He was like, you're hired. You can stay. You don't have to go back to school today. I was like, okay. And he just took me right in. So I started working there as an intern. Once I graduated, he hired me full time. But during my final semester, of course, the girls that I started with in my class ended up dropping before we get to the final semester because things were getting hot, It was getting tough. So mostly boys in the class that are left. So I was like, you know what? I need to form a nonprofit organization. I actually teach people so they know this is not like hard. Like you just need to know, you have to have the skill. I didn't have a computer going to school as a computer student, computer science student. I used to write my codes on paper. You know, when I go to the lab, to the office, I will ask my other friends if I can borrow their laptop, and then I'll transfer my codes and write them and submit them as an assignment. So I never let it stop me because I loved it. So I just do that. So I started this nonprofit organization. Our boss really liked me, and they would have computers that they're not using at work. So I asked if we could use those computers to actually teach high school girls just basic IT skills, like how to create a folder, just know how to like work with a computer, how to create, how to program calculators and stuff like that. So that nonprofit organization kind of blew up, and then we started traveling from region to region to actually teach different girls in different villages there, and we give them certificates. So I'll recruit some of the guys that I work with to help me in the weekends to go. So it kind of blew up. And then there's this program called Young African Leaders. It's the whole of Africa that President Mandela, and he's so rest in peace, started. Obama started it when he was president on behalf of in his honor. So it's for young African leaders that are doing great things, but serious stuff like war stuff, teenage pregnancy stuff. So I didn't think I would qualify for something like that. So they would send it to me. I was like, what I'm doing and what these people are doing is more amazing. Like others, it's the whole of Africa. So like 40,000 applicants of the best youth in Africa. And I'm like, let me just apply. So I applied the first time. They interviewed me at the US Embassy. I was like, okay, I guess it's working. Then the second round, I was like, okay. Then the third round, I was like, oh, this might be something. Then the final round, the names came out from DC that I was chosen. So it's a Young African Leaders Fellowship that is based in DC. So what they do is they bring these people like me, or people that are doing amazing things, not that I do amazing things like them. I feel like they do war stuff. That's serious stuff. So I was chosen, and I came to Northwestern. I was played at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois, Chicago. And then I was flown to DC after the program to meet President Obama. I was going to bring my certificate. I knew I forgot something, so I could show you guys. But yeah, so he gave me a certificate. And during that time, before I came, I was actually looking to do my master's program because my boss was actually recruiting me so I could stay. So he would say things like, you don't really need a master's degree in computer science. You don't need a master's, but he has a master's from the US. So he's from a well-off family. So I was like, okay. But I knew I wanted more because he was not that old. His family is from a well-off family, and he came to the US, studied and got his papers, went back and opened a software company. He's doing really great. So I wanted to be like him. I was like, I also want a master's. So I applied to multiple universities in the UK because we have that relationship with UK universities. We do have some university professors from the UK that come to our university to actually teach us. So even my program was based on that, like universities outside that have professors come and do intensive courses. So that's how I got into the program. So I've been applying for these universities, but I never get any chance. I would get partial scholarship, and they were like, you only have to pay £3,000. And I'm like, do you know what £3,000 is to me? That's 10 million in my head. Like, there's no way I could afford that coming from where I came from. So I was like, you know what? Let me try US. So I started applying to multiple universities in the US, and I'll get the admission, of course, but of course the scholarship is hard. So there was this University of Illinois, Chicago. I applied to it. I got the admission, and they sent me, I went to their website, and I was like, now I got admission, now what? So I went to their website, and I literally just applied to every scholarship they have. And most of the scholarship were for US citizens. There was this one scholarship that was for international students that are already enrolled to the university. And I only have one semester left. But I didn't read that part. I just went and applied. So a few weeks later, while we're waiting for the result for the Young African Leadership Fellowship to come out, I got an email from them saying, hey, you qualify for this, but you do not meet the requirements because you're not in the US. You're supposed to be an international student that already is here and only has one semester to go. However, your work looks good. Your resume is great. We want to give you a shot. Here's the Skype link. It was like 12 a.m. in Africa. And I was like, wait, what? We don't have internet at my house. What am I supposed to do? So I was like, okay, you know what? I asked my boss, hey, can I sleep here? I work today. I work till 12. And then I have an interview. Can I stay? He was like, yeah, I'll just tell the security person. That's the watchman. We call it watchman, but it's like security. So I told the security, she's going to be here. So my friends helped me set up the conference room, put everything, went through the instructions of the Skype, what they want me to do. And I did the interview and they were like, don't contact us. Don't call, don't email, don't do anything. We'll let you know it's competitive. It's a lot of applications. We have a lot of international students from India and blah, blah, blah. It's tough. The next day I came in the morning and there's an email saying, congratulations. We were so impressed. We had to take you. We had to take you.
So, I mean, you just covered a lot there and I want to get into more of it too. But basically what I'm gathering from all this is that all the real estate, all the Airbnb arbitrage, building your portfolio in 3 years to 30 units, all that is pretty much the easy part of all the things that you've been through, right? Like, you know, coming from where you came from to be able to get the scholarship, to come to America. I mean, it's like, it makes me think that certain things that I do are just like, they're just too easy. Like I got to step it up. I got to have bigger goals. So I want to get into the transition from that period when you went to school and then how you fell upon getting a job in the data science. And then when did the real estate kick in? Like, how did that play a factor? And Ryan may have.
I just want to say, like, I have not yet felt this way on a podcast interview. Like I was just at a loss for words and I just wanted to keep hearing you talk. Your story, you need a movie made about you. It's absolutely incredible. You were transferring your notes to a laptop because you didn't have one. And then you slept at your boss, at your work, right? Just to do a Skype interview at midnight because you didn't have internet, but you're a software programmer. Like it's unbelievable what you're talking about. Like the stuff we're going to ask you about real estate is just honestly, in my opinion, like it's got to be easy. Like Corey said, compared to what you've done and what you overcome. And I mean, I'm glad you got the scholarship. I mean, more than deserved. And you said you haven't done big things, but your stories, it's unbelievable. I don't know. I'm trying to like conceptualize what I'm trying to say here. I don't know that I have much to say besides like you're my idol. I look up to like it's unbelievable. It's so impactful. Thank you. Even the first 15 minutes of what you just said, your entire story. We haven't even gotten to the real estate side. So just thank you for sharing so far. It's been amazing.
Thank you. That means a lot. Okay. So, so when I came to the US course, my master's was in computer science. I did my program in Northwestern, completed that, and then did the master's, the full scholarship master. So that scholarship was more like a work scholarship. So I worked for the university as a data analyst. I analyzed the student data for them, and they waived my tuition fee and give me $1,000 stipend. So from the $1,000, they take my student insurance, and international student insurance, super expensive, right? To insure everything. So I pay like insurance like $400 or almost $500. And then the rest is like my rent and then my utilities. So I have a roommate. It was a 3-bedroom house that we rented. I have 2 other roommates and we each pay like $350 or $400 for rent plus utilities and internet and all of that. So usually I'm left with like $50 or $40 and I need to use that as bus pass because I can't drive. I started driving like 2021 is when I got my license. At 30, people were like, how are you driving at 30? I was like, where I came from, where would I get a car? I don't have money for a car. So like, it's crazy that I just started driving not long ago. But going back to your question about how real estate. So the way I grew up as a child, living in people's houses, knowing that you don't belong here. So here stories like, I would come and there was a conversation about return this kid. So my brother used to get in trouble a lot. When my mom died, he was a toddler. So his parents were like basically snatched from him. I was really small, so I don't remember my mom. So he's always looking for that love and always getting in trouble. Of course, a teenager. So when he gets in trouble, even though I try as best as I could to be a good girl, school girl, whatever, he still gets in trouble and it still saddens me. So I would come into a room and there's a conversation going on about, we told them to return these kids. So I always knew. And to me, this is like my family. This is all I knew. And then they saying, return these kids. It's like so confusing to me. And then after I found out, oh, maybe these people are not my family. Like, because I never hear them say, return these kids to the other kids that live in this house. So you as a kid, you pick up on things like that. and other things. Like he get beaten a lot. I got beaten a lot, of course, but he gets more in trouble than me. So I was like focused because it's like, if I'm the schoolgirl and everything is perfect in school, I'm good in my grades, there's nothing else to beat me on because I'm not going to be acting out like him. So I used to pee in bed a lot because I'd never, so I'm going to cry. So I used to pee in bed and I wasn't allowed to sleep on the bed. So I'll sleep on the floor, like on the floor. So I used to go to this shopkeeper that's near my house and I used to babysit his child for him when he goes to his other shop I help his wife. So he helps me, give me boxes, like cartoons. You know how when you're moving, the boxes you use to move your things. So I'll just cut them in rectangular shapes and just put them and I'll just sleep in the room, but downstairs. But I'm looking at the bed, but I'm not allowed to sleep there. So I always like, as a kid, I'm like, this is me 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. So I'll be like, one day I'm going to grow up, I'm going to buy a new big house. I'm going to do like a child dreaming. So I always knew I'm going to buy a house. I didn't know it's going to be 30 something units or more, but that I'm fascinated with homes. I also like after school, when I go to study with my other friends at their house, I'm so fascinated. They have a house. Oh my God, they have beds. They have this, they have that. So those things exciting me. So I always knew I'm fascinated with homes and all of that. So, and also when I came to the US, me helping my family out, because I'm the only one that get to go to college, from my village. And I'm the one that's opportune enough that God has blessed to come to the US, which is like, oh, so you're going to help us out. It's like a bragging right. Oh, we have a family member in the US that's going to help. I mean, $100 in the US here, it's like 10,000 over there.
Yaamu, I don't mean to interrupt you, but it's funny that you say that because I have a lot of friends and they're more of the I told you before Rye jumped in that before we were recording is that I do coach high school basketball. We coach a lot of international students, and it's very common that like a lot of the students, once they make it play professional basketball or they make it in the workforce or as an entrepreneur, it's very common. They're like, I got to go take care of my people at home. They're like looking for me. I'm the outlet. I gotta take care of my. Yeah. So it's very interesting that you say that because I've seen that kind of over and over. Yeah. And it's remarkable because you're kind of the one who made it to the land of entrepreneurship.
Opportunities. Yep.
Opportunity. Exactly. So
that's what they call it.
A lot of respect to you for that. It's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So usually that's why when you see immigrants, especially from Africa come here, they have to work extra hard because it's just like thousands of people relying on them, a whole household relying on them. Somebody's sick, it's you. It's a wedding, it's you. It's a naming ceremony, it's you. School, everything is you. So I was like, okay, I know so when I graduated from university, I got a job at CDC. So I had to move to Georgia to work for the CDC as an international student. So usually they only take, they do take non-US citizens, but you have to be exceptional. Like you have to be really good at what you do. So I was fortunate enough, blessed by God, to get the job at CDC, and I work as a data scientist there. So me working as a data scientist, I was like, okay, I got a job, I'm sending money. But I was like, but how can this be sustainable though? Like I have to work every month and still send money. How do I save? What do I do? So of course I love reading. And I was just like, I have to research what's the best way to invest. So I started like checking podcasts. First it was YouTube. And then I got Bigger Pockets and then other free podcasts, and I would just listen. I didn't have the money, but I was like, when I do, because I just started working September 2019, and then a few months later, COVID happened, and then it was a shutdown. So I was like, okay, I need to find a way. So I was already researching before the shutdown happened, and I was on a contract by February for my first property in Midwest. So the reason why Midwest, and I get a lot of questions about why Midwest, because I don't know anywhere else in the US except where the Obama program brought me, which is Illinois. And then I only know Georgia because I got a job with CDC. So I don't know anything else. So back to when I was going to school, remember I had 2 roommates and we put money together and then make rent. There were other international students that their parents, Indian international, because my computer science class was all Indians and Asians. Their parents actually come. There's a student that parent came and bought them a house. And then they actually, I don't know if they bought it or leased the whole house, but then have other students sublease from them. So they will have a 2-bedroom, but like each bedroom have 4 mattresses. So like 2 people is paying all their rent for them. So each of the rooms that they have. So I was like, this is cool. I might want to do this one day. So when I was like, okay, maybe I should look in the area, but I couldn't afford it. So I was like, okay, let me look around the city that I went to school in. And I looked and I was like, that's kind of expensive. Let me go a little further. And then I found a city that was like not that expensive. And I was like, okay, if I'm starting, this is where I'm going to start. So when I started doing research, I was doing my analysis, property deal analysis on that city. So I reached out to the banks in that area, like wrote a list of all the banks. So I don't have the money. I just only had like 8,000 saved up after working for 2-3 months. So I was like, okay, with this 8,000, I think that's the most money I've ever made in my life. So I was like, this is crazy. I'm going to go buy a house. From what I read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The funny thing about that is I'm curious because I think it's not, sometimes it's if you come from less, but also just any time that you have money, right? And you've never had it before. It happened to me when I first started to make money. Like a lot of people just go and spend it. What was it about? How did you figure out that you weren't supposed to go spend it? Because I can imagine it would be difficult. Like if you haven't had any before, you came from the situation you came from, you got your first $8,000. You could have easily gone and bought something with that maybe brought you short-term pleasure. But like, how did you create the mindset to know that this wasn't the right thing to do? And the right thing to do was to go buy assets, because people work their entire lives and never figure that out. Yeah. And you figured it out in your first 3 months of working.
Yeah. So I've never been a spender. So with my background, of course, I always had limited resources. So I'm used to saving, even if it's little things. I will save for books. I will save for stuff. I will not go to school funds because I don't have the money. The little money I have to buy books for that, or I have to do bus fare or taxi fare, or I have to walk to school. So most times what I save is what I use to go, and I will not have money to eat. Whatever they gave me that my sister was able to collect and give me that day is what I will use to just get to school, and I'll figure out how to come home. As long as I can get to the school. There's some times when I go to school at university and I was like, today I'm going to spend the night because I don't have fare. And my friends were like, why are you still here? And I'm like, I don't have fare. And they're like, oh, I can borrow you. But at least I know I have to figure out to get to the school. So I've always known how to save. I'm not going to go get my money and then go spend up. That's not in me at all.
Yep.
And of course, I've already started researching and reading like mindset books and all of that about spending and saving. So I knew I don't want to spend it. I want to put it in. Actually, at even the 8,000, before it got to 8,000 was like the max when I get paid fully at 3 months. So I was calculating, okay, I get paid in 2 weeks. Okay, 2 weeks is going to be 7,500. If I get paid again, it's going to be, but I'm not even paid yet. So I'm calculating by end of this month, this is what I'm going to get. And I'm calling the bank and say, okay, in 2 weeks, I'll be getting 8,000 total in my account. So what do I do? So I call different banks, local banks. And from the research, meaning the podcasts and all the books I read, they were like, call local banks. Connect with local banks, they will help you. So that's what I did. I made a list of all the banks in the area and I called them all. And of course I get no. Me not being around workforce Americans, just students, I didn't know anything about credit. So there was nobody to teach me about, because I'm at the university for work, then school, then work, then school, then go home. And it's just students and professors. So I never knew anything about credit or how to build credit or anything. So of course you get a social security number because I'm working, even it's a part-time job, but I didn't know what credit was. So the bank was like, you need credit. And I'm like, what? And they were like, what's your credit score? And I was like, I don't know what that is. So there was one bank that was able to listen to me, and the lady was like, and now she's the vice president of the bank, but then she wasn't, she was just working there. So she was like, you need to go open a capital something credit card, discover, start building your credit. And then you can come back maybe next year and we can see how we can help you. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. I went and did that. But I was like, I kept analyzing deals. I saw this deal for like a triplex for like 52,000. The seller was going through a divorce. And of course, for my research, people that are going through something are eager to sell, like they want to sell their properties, right? So I was like, I follow up on this agent, follow up on the seller. They were ready to sell. He just wanted out how much he owed the bank and get out. So I was told that the property was cash flowing. They sent a document. They sent me the PDF cash flow rent roll, and I was excited. Sent it to the bank, did my presentation. I was like, this is how much it's going to make. Even if only one tenant paid, I can still pay the mortgage. I don't care if I make money or not. I'll fix it. I'll do this. And then a few days later, they were like, okay, we'll give you a chance. And they were like, send me this, send me that. I said everything. They requested my taxes, everything. So that deal came on. I closed.
So your first deal was a triplex then? That was your first deal?
Yeah, it was a triplex.
That's amazing. To the credit to this bank too is that they took a chance on you. And that's what a lot of the bigger pockets and some of these resources will tell you is that it's more of this relationship-based thing. And we've worked with some smaller banks, but it's interesting how it worked in your scenario. Look, you create a relationship with somebody who just started working there, or they were like a teller or something like that. Now the person's the VP, and I'm sure you still have that connection with them. Oh yeah,
they finance all my deals. They finance all my deals. Yep,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. So from there, let's talk about like kind of you got the bug, you got bit by it. You wanted to grow your portfolio, I assume, from there, and then how did you make moves to start to grow it?
Mm-hmm. So my first property taught me everything. Everything went wrong after I closed. I found out they said there were 3 tenants there. I found out one tenant hasn't paid for 1 year. The other tenant already just moved out. There's one tenant there and he hasn't paid for months too, right? And he was about to leave. So I went in there thinking that I'm going to cash flow right away. Nope. So I had to do cash for keys for the one that was about to leave, already a few months behind rent, right? I did cash for keys, gave her $200 or $250, and she was able to leave. So that unit wasn't in a bad shape. So I have a property manager who has a contractor that they work. So most property managers, of course, work with their own contractors. So I was able to have the contractor do the work and then get the rent and pay that in installment to the property manager. So it turned out the property manager, everything was wrong. The numbers, everything was cooked. So the property manager starts seeing that money's coming in. Now it costs about $2,000 a month, the property, $2,000 and some change. And it turned the property manager was actually stealing money from me. So the contractor would give him a bit of, okay, this is $2,000 to repaint this two bedroom unit. He would charge me $7,000. So, but he's not charging me to pay him $7,000 right away. He would just say, I'll just take the rent. So I wasn't making money. He would just keep the $2,000 every month. So me being out of state, remember I worked in Georgia with a CC. So I'm trying to figure this out myself. And I'm like, this is not making sense. Something's wrong.
You're like, wait, I'm supposed to have this month at the end of the month. And now I'm $5,000 short. Where's the money going? Wow.
Yeah, but I'm seeing that the tenants are paying now. All the tenants are paying now. Everything is fixed up. I already fixed up everything. The first unit got fixed up. Second, the same thing with the third one. We were able to get the third one who's behind rent for the city to give her a relief. So she won. There was a grant they were giving for people that were behind rent. So we got like thousands from that engagement. But it was sent to the property manager's account, not my account. So he kept all that. It was just. I was like, something's wrong. Like I did everything right. I worked so hard to get this to cash flow. Now it's cash flow and I'm not making money. I'm basically every month goes to him. Every money goes to him. So I was like, let me find, because the receipts, the numbers he was giving me that to do work, and I would Google and I asked other contractors, well, how much would you charge for this? How much would you charge? And they would tell me, no, that work cannot be $2,000 work. That cannot be $3,000 worth of work. That cannot be this. So I was like, you know what? And of course, he always, in our emails and our conversations, he always dropped the name of the contractor. He said, well, Chester gave me this bid or Chester this. So I was like, let me just Google how many Chesters can be in one city. So I went and searched Chester, called all the Chesters I could. And I said, hey, my name is Yaamu. I'm an out-of-state investor, and I have a property in Illinois, and blah, blah, blah. I gave the property address. Are you familiar with this property or work? He said, yeah, I actually work with the property manager. And I was like, can I ask a few questions? And you don't have to answer this, but I wanted to ask you, did you really charge me all this? And I sent him the receipts. He was like, no way. These are receipts for all the properties that he manages. This is not for that property. So he was sending me receipts because there's no way I would not believe him, because the receipts are actually receipts. So it's not like a $2,000 receipt from Lowe's. for this much. So
for a bunch of different properties is what you're saying. That's what the property manager.
Yeah, that he manages. So he will send those to me, and then the contractor was like, I fix all issues on all the other properties. This receipt here is for property this. This receipt is for property that. This is not for your property.
Gets me so mad. Like you just explained you have such an incredible story of perseverance and just coming from a place where not many people can get out of, and you're supporting a whole mass of people, right? And it's just like there's a lot of things going through my brain, and the scumbags taking advantage of you.
Yeah. And
I don't think people, I don't know if they realize when they're doing something that bad. Like I know he's, stealing money is bad, right? You're not supposed to do it, but like to disrupt someone's story like you makes me even friggin' more pissed off because you've done so many incredible things. So many people are looking up to you, and like and you're just trying to make it. We all are, right? Like that's pretty much everybody in the world. They're just trying to figure it out. But what I like about you is testament to who you are, and pretty much every iteration of your story so far is you just don't stop. You figured it out. You call it the Chesters in this small town, so you found the right guy. Like no one does that. That's amazing.
I had to figure it out.
Tell you. You're like, dude, tell straight up. Like you don't have to answer me, but please, like, here's my story. Here's what I'm experiencing. Is this true? And he's like, no, it's not. And so not to like jump in here, but you find a way. And that's what I like about you. It's like every single step along your journey that you've told us, you just figure it out. And there's a lot of people here that I think you're going to realize, like in the States, I'll just say like, they'll stop after 2 speed bumps. So your competitive advantage is just keep on grinding, like keep doing your thing. I know you're obviously very intelligent, but what I love about you is just like, you just keep hitting the hammer. And if you just keep doing it, I mean, look at you, 32 units after 3 years of investing.
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
And thank you. And I'm so grateful because I learned everything. I learned everything about property management. I learned how to manage contractors, everything I learned. So I'm grateful that it happened, even though I lost about 17,000. It was all worth it, right? So the same thing. So I fired him, of course, and I kept the contract. He worked full time for me basically now from that contractor. So my second deal, my other deals, he worked on all of that. So it turned out to be sweet at the end of there was light at the end of the tunnel, even though I learned a lot. So it taught me so much. It taught me, also helped me get my team because he's one of my best contractors and he's guys. So
that's called karma.
Yeah.
You put the good you put into the world, it'll circle back eventually. So I love that.
Yeah, me too. And the problem, basically what it comes down to is that the problems that you were experiencing on the real estate investment side, it were paled in comparison to the problems that you had in just trying to get to the States. So if I, just the way that I would frame it, if I were you, I would think would be like, well, I've been through stuff that's way more difficult than this. Like, okay, let's say somebody steals all my money. Like I have already figured out how to go make more, right? I can go do that. So that is a lesson for a lot of people listening is like, you're never in a place where you can't get out of the hole. Listen to episode 150 of our podcast and we'll explain why that is. But I want to talk about the ascension here. So 3 years, 30 units, you talk about the first and second deal. Did you have a specific like buy box then that you created? You're like, well, if this works for the triplex and this works for the next property, I want to stay in this range. I want to buy in this area. What was it about? Like, how did you design your portfolio to grow so fast?
Yeah. So because I started in COVID, a lot of landlords, and I joined a lot of landlord groups, again, following the free resources that I learned from Bigger Pockets and other podcasts out there, and of course, YouTube University. I joined all the landlord groups. Every city I want to invest in, I joined the landlord groups. And then I'll just make connections, just introduce myself and just learn from other people. And of course, so many landlords were complaining that they're not getting rent and all of that. And I'm like, moving forward, all my tenants, and before I put all my tenants are going to be Section 8. So I know that I'm going to get rent every month. So the triplex turned out to be all Section 8 tenants. So every month I'm getting rent at the first of the month after I fired the property manager. So the second property, I was like, you know what, where else could I go that's cheaper? So I'm not able to find that kind of deal in that same city right now. They're good deals, but I can't afford them right now because I lost a lot of money. So where else? Since I've already built the relation with the bank and they see the Section 8 checks money coming in. So I looked at, okay, what other city? So there were a lot of platforms that would say Cleveland, Ohio is a good city for cash flow. You know, the properties are not that expensive, but they're not that expensive. And you can get in low and you can start with Section 8 as well. So I was like, okay, Cleveland it is. So I decided doing research in Cleveland markets, the properties that I've been analyzing, the properties I'm looking at are not the ones that, fit my budget. So I was like, I got to go lower. But the platform that I join usually say, hey, don't buy in this area. It's a D area. It's an F area. Buy A. And I'm like, I can't afford $120,000 house right now. I'm below the hundreds. Let me look there. So I found this great deal from an agent that listed it. So I contacted the agent directly to see if she can also represent me. She was like, I can't, but I have a friend that works at my office and I can have her represent you, but I would just really help you because I like your story, blah, blah. I was like, okay, fine. So she actually guided that new agent to represent me. So she was basically telling the agent what to do. So she was giving me the inside deeds about the person listed 2 properties. So they buy them on tax sale, fix them up. They're not interested in keeping them long term, just turning over turnkey properties. So I got this deal for I wanted 2 of them at the same time. I told the bank, it's going to cash flow. It's cash flow already. There are tenants in there. And they say, again, I did my due diligence and I didn't make sure it's a PDF. This time it's a bank account. I want to see the account. I want to see the deposits. So the bank was like, well, you did great with the first one. Why not? So, and I was already building my credit as well. So my credit is not as great, but I don't have any student loans. I don't have any loan. I don't have a car. I don't have anything. It's just those 2 credit cards. So my history is not there, but my credit is good. So there's no history because I just have the credit. So they were still able to finance it because I have a 3-unit that's bringing me about $2,000. And my mortgage there is like 300 something. And I did my mortgage for 15 years instead of 30, which I regret because then I was young. I was like, you know what? Let me pay them off quick. So I did a mortgage on this one. I bought it for $68,000. It's a duplex, Cleveland, fully rented, 710, 6 something downstairs. So it's about $1,350, about that, $1,350, $1,370.
$1,350 on a $60-something-thousand property. So you're at like a 2% rule already, right?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. It worked perfectly. And they pay all the utilities. I only pay the sewer bill, and that comes every 3 months.
Let me ask you this, because these numbers you're spitting out are awesome, right? And especially for people that are looking to get involved and get started. For us, we looked in Cleveland, we looked in a couple areas, and we're like, oh wow, like we can afford this. The hesitation that we had was when you mentioned like the D area or the war zone area, and we're out of state too, right? It's exactly like you, right? We had no excuses either. But my question is, how do you get certain property managers to actually manage the properties? Because I know that sometimes certain property management companies will stay away from certain properties in certain neighborhoods. That was one of our risks there. And then Section 8 wise, we currently have a tenant of Section 8 as well. And we can't raise the rent more than 3% each year. Yeah. So, and it's a pain in the butt to go to file the paperwork and all that. So I'm curious on how you manage everything and how you continually are building this foundation, right? They're all seem to be Section 8, but the confidence that you have in this portfolio to move it forward, how do you feel about people moving in and out Section 8? Give us the whole spiel on why you feel comfortable with moving forward with something like this. Yeah.
So when I just got the property, they just signed their lease few months. They're into the property a few months in Section 8. So they just transfer everything to my account. I have to call the section office and they transfer it to my account. However, I was like, okay, the previous owner had already fixed it. She has a law firm, but she has a construction. She's a lawyer, but she has a construction company. So she buys tax deed properties, fix them and just sell them at a profit. So I was like, okay, it's already fixed up. The tenants are already in. They're new tenants. Even if they're going to be maintenance, it's not going to be high. And I just already have a bad taste of property managers in my mouth already. I was like, what could go wrong? No matter what, I know that the money is going to come into my account every month. Managing them. So the harder part in real estate is, especially when it comes to not doing Section 8, is you as a landlord trying to fix their, because you still have to do maintenance. You still have to fix if the tenants have issues. But the problem is now the tenants start paying and you still have to fix. That's the problem. For me, I was like with Section 8, worst case scenario, even if I have to put all the money back or half the money back to maintenance, I know first of the month I'm getting the rent. So I know money's coming in. So I was like, you know what? I will manage this and I'll make it look like I'm actually there. So got a phone number for Illinois, for Cleveland. When I text them, when they call me through that number, but it's a Google number. So I managed it basically for 1 year and they didn't even know I was out of state. So when I started scaling is when I found a property manager for those properties and let go and just focus on the ones that I'm working on.
Awesome. So take us through, zoom out a little bit if you could.
Mhm.
Now, I know we have the 32 units. What states are they like broken up in between? And kind of, do you have one property manager for each state? Is that how it works?
Yeah, I have a property for each state. So for Cleveland, I have a property manager. For Illinois, because I have my bigger portfolio is there, I have multiple property managers there for the different cities. So for each city in Illinois, I invest in about 4 or 5 cities in Illinois. So each city has a property manager.
Have you used the same bank to finance all in all the states? So that's kind of something for people to listen to here is like, if you create a great relationship with the bank, you don't need to go to a local bank in that specific area. You can use that relationship, build upon it, and then have them fund your deals all over the place. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So awesome. I just built up from there, just buying those cheap properties. Cash flow is really great. It's coming in 5,000 and 6,000. I'm like, okay, I'm at 10,000 now. So I was like, from now on, let me pause on the mortgages and just buy them for cash. Buy it from tax sales, people that go to tax sales, because I'm out of state, so I can't go to the tax sales. So I just bought, I think 3-4 properties for cash, well, one for 15,000. Also, they were foreclosed. They were being foreclosed, or they just wanted to pay what was left and just get out. So I bought it for 15,000. It was a 5-bedroom or 4-bedroom home. I fixed it up. My contractor charged me like 9,000. It was like, you can pay like in installment. So I was like, no matter what, I know that my Section 8 money is coming in. So even if he charged me 9,000, I give you 5,000, then do the 4,000 after the work is done. I know that at the end of the month, I'm getting 7,000 from my other properties. So that's how I started building up, and then add that to portfolio. And then I say, okay, another 1 month, 2 months, I could buy another cheap one. And then when I fix them up, the bank will appraise them at 60, 55, 80, 85. And then I was like, okay, now I can comfortably go above 100. And that's how I went. And now I can buy $1 million properties.
Jeez, I love it. And you know what? What I really like about this is the perfect episode for people to understand how to get into real estate. Like if you have never purchased your first property, I really like this episode. Not only just the how-to, but your story is so compelling and you just prove it can be done. Like I just did some quick math here, but like 20% down on a $60,000 property is only $12,000. And I say only 12,000, but like, think about it. It took you personally, it took you about 3 months to get 8,000, a couple more months, you'd be at the 12. Closing costs are factored in there, but you said, even though you went through so much heartache and headache in the first property, it was worth losing that 17 grand to learn the game, because you're not going to make that same mistake again, right? It helps you navigate all these other deals, and you have to fail forward, right? We talk about this all the time. And so you are a person that has found success in these, I will say, like the alphabetical, like maybe not the A, B properties, but the B, C, D, like it is possible. There's people out there doing it, right? And so it's a testament to you to say, hey, listen, I'm just going to figure it out. And this is what works for me now. And then once you learn that, maybe you could sell a chunk of that portfolio to scale up to a different class. And maybe you want to keep some of them padded out, right? Everybody has a little method to their madness. But for me, what I really like, so for us, we recently got our first Airbnb property, or short-term rental property, I should say, in October. And for us, we started in the $200,000 range. Like for us, this was after years of investing in other things. That was our like, okay, this is cheap for an Airbnb. We're going to learn, we're going to put our training wheels on here. And so that's why I like to relate it to you. It's like, put my training wheels on a $50,000 property. I'll learn. I rather lose a little than lose
low
a
risk.
And take a little risk, right? Until you perfect it. You get great at your craft, and then you scale up and you get into the bigger game and be one of the bigger fish. So really cool story. I'm just dumbfounded and bewildered of like how incredible you are. So
I want to add on to that too. What Rai was saying, I think it's perfectly said, where if you have a little bit amount of money, you have to figure out what you can do with that, right? Yes, you're probably not going to be able to buy the $600,000 beachfront short-term rental that's going to cash flow $5,000 a month. Okay, fine. But learning from what you did, Yaamu, you're able to say, okay, maybe I do need to go look in the Midwest, but I can probably buy a couple properties for 80 grand. And then it takes me a couple years. And then you learn, well, you know what? I may not like that much. Okay, fine. You at least have these properties you've learned. Now you can go take that knowledge and what you've built and go do it on the bigger stuff once you have more money coming in. So perfectly said, Rai. And I think if you want to get started, you might not be doing it optimally to start. In fact, you're likely 100% not doing it optimally to start, but it's better than nothing. For example, I'm selling my first rental I ever bought. I'm going to supposedly go under contract in the next couple of days. I never thought I would sell it because my whole goal was, I want to stack up 100 of these. I want to get as many as I possibly can. But now I'm in a different ball game. I have a different mindset. I want to take that money. I tripled it in 3 years. I'm going to go put it into something different.
That's exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to get rid of all of those and buy more apartments and more. So now I'm not into single families anymore. I mean, I buy here and there, but I'm like, it has to be 8 units or more. Like
8 units or more. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to ask what your goals were then. That was kind of my next question. So you built 32 units. You're doing some short-term rental arbitrage. What does the next 3 years look like for you? You kind of told me, but maybe more specifically, where are you going? Are you looking in different markets? You said 8 units or more. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. So the reason why I say 8 units, because it skyrocketed my portfolio. So when 2021 came, after I got a couple of, I think 7 or 8 short-term, just Section 8 properties, 2021, everybody's talking about, Airbnb. I mean, that's the first time I've heard of Airbnb. Everybody's talking about you can get an Airbnb unit without buying a property. And it's Atlanta. Everybody's talking about it. I was like, you know what? Because I surrounded myself with investors and just follow real estate stuff. So I get all of this stuff from my on my social media. You can get a property. You can get money from somebody else's property. I'm like, that's interesting. But I only do Section 8. So I was like, I only do long-term. So I was like, maybe I should look into it. I mean, I have a 6-figure job. Of course, I can rent. So I was like, okay, let me open an LLC, get an LLC and do as they say. So I took a couple of Airbnb courses, $100 here, $150 here, just to learn, to see. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to just jump in and do it. So I approached some apartment properties here in Georgia, Atlanta, and they say, yeah, why not? You can put in your LLC, even though your credit is not that good, but we will have you back it up with your credit, even though it's rented to your LLC. I was like, yeah, sure. I know that I'll be paying the rent. So I did that. My first Airbnb, 2-3 weeks into it, I got a booking for $44,000. So the company booked for him coming from, I think, Washington to come and work in Georgia for 11 months. $44,000 in one-time booking.
What is your monthly rent on that?
It was like, I think it was like, the rent was like $1,003. And then my internet.
1,300? Is it 1,300?
Yeah, 1,300.
Okay, 13. So, and 11 months, if you divide that in, so you're talking about come on, let's say 13,000. Yeah, 13,000 for the year. Well, yeah, basically,
10 months, something like that.
Yeah, so you just tripled each month, basically.
Yeah, 30,000 on profit. Unbelievable.
That's
it's awesome.
About 30,000 profit on a property I don't own. I was like, this is a no-brainer. I gotta get another one. So what I did was I was like, okay, since I'm starting up, instead of getting multiple units at the same time, let me get 2 units to start off, but let me push their moving date a little further. So my first moving day was April 2021, and the second moving day was May for the second one. So I used all the money from the profit from here, some of the profit, and put it on the second one. And that's what I scaled. So I kept going. And then I have 8 units here. So that kind of skyrocketed because now I'm not buying houses in Illinois for every month, every 2-3 months. I'm buying every month because I'm getting like I'm using everything I have. My W-2 work, my Section 8 property income, and then the Airbnb income. Like I'm just buying. And
it's funny.
Contract is just fixing.
So you're taking the Airbnb arbitrage money and then you're using that as a nest egg to go buy more long-term rentals.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. So I would take my W-2 money. I'll keep, of course, because I spend like literally less than 1% of my W-2 money. So I was using my W-2 money, my Section 8 money. I'm using also the Airbnb money, everything. I'm just dumping it. So my contractors were fixing, like, it's a matter of how fast can they fix. So I was just buying.
You got the money. They got to fix it. They got to fix it faster. You're waiting for them.
Yeah. So basically, I'm just waiting for them. So by the time they finish one property, I'm on the next one already. I already closed. So when I travel to go see the work at the end of one project, we're already walking the other property for them, or I'm closing. So I schedule my closings to actually go visit the other properties. So they were just fixing. I look up and it was like, whoa, you have how much? So
are you let me ask you this. Do you have any partners in your deals or is it all you?
No, it's all me.
That's so badass. I actually knew it was. I just wanted, there's no way.
I don't have any partners.
I love crazy. This is a very simple system you have, but it's so incredible that you just keep doing it. And I think the biggest part is you don't have any liabilities. And what I mean by that is like, I know you have liabilities, if you want to call it your mortgages and all that stuff, liabilities, but like 1%, you're spending 1% of your W-2 income, which is over six figures. That means you have so much coming in from that silo, from your Airbnb silo, from your Section 8 silo. You can just, you're buying every month?
I would buy every month. Like one time I would go and close on 2 properties.
It's insane.
So the cool thing about this is, and I know we can get into this because you're a coach and you help. I was wondering, like, how can people learn more from you? I know you're a short-term rental coach, and I want to get into that. But part of that is limiting your expenses, like Rye was saying. Now, it's pretty simple because you have a mindset of like, look, I came from an orphanage. Okay. I know exactly how to, if you have an excuse and you're spending too much money, you have to rewire your mindset to be like, you don't have to have all these things. If you want to spend, 1%, I can't even fathom getting to that because our brains are wired like, well, no, we spend what, 60% or whatever it is.
Going out to eat. Obviously your like primary residence, your car note, like there's just a lot.
All the things that
I was renting till 2021. I bought my primary home in Georgia in 2022. Sorry, November is when I closed. So I was renting. Yep, we were renting.
People don't want to swallow their pride and do that. It's like I gotta buy, and then they buy something that they can't afford.
Hey,
so not everyone, but there's some.
Not everyone, but the point is that the lifestyle creep, you've kind of mastered that. Now, as you incrementally grow your portfolio, you can do it more in chunks. And if you want to have more nicer things at a certain point, you can say, well, I just made an extra $20,000 this month. Yeah. I think it's fine if I spend 4,000 of that, right?
Yeah,
like you can incrementally grow it. And I think that's the way to do it, is to train your mind to live significantly below your means, so that when you have the opportunity to do it, you don't even want all the crazy nice things. You may be able to afford them, but you're so happy in your life the way it is without needing them that you don't have to sprint to the next paycheck. And that is really, truly how you can get to financial freedom. You're playing ultra defense, you're playing ultra offense. And that's why you're at the position that you are. And you said you were 30.
Yeah, I'm 34. I'm going to be 34 in March.
34. Cool. That's awesome.
I'm just thinking I know we're going to be kind of heading to the end of the show here, but I just thinking about the cash flow you make on these things. Even if you didn't want to reinvest it into other proproperties, you could pay these properties off so fast.
Oh yeah.
It's incredible. I mean, you said, I've hit myself for the 15-year note. I'm like, dude, that's amazing. You could rip that. You could pay that off so fast. I mean, you're talking about at least $1,000 of cash flow a month. A couple of years, that thing's done. So, you have a well-oiled machine. So kudos to you.
Thank you. I mean, it felt like at some point, like 2021, I was like, I'm making so much money. I'm buying these houses and they're fixing it so fast. And my cash flow come from 20,000 in 1 month. It's 2 properties done. It's on Section 8 already. That's extra to 4,000. Now it's 24,000 for the next one. Then 26,000, 28,000, then 30,000. So I was like, you know what? This is crazy. And then I get because of my LinkedIn profile that I work for the CDC, I get pharmaceutical companies reach out to me, hey, we will pay you double what CDC pays you. And I'm like, oh, I love this job. This is a federal job. This is not everybody can get this. I don't even know how I got this. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? It's a challenge. Let me just take a quiz. Let me just take the exams. Because when you're doing programming, they usually give you a task, to like a question or like a task to solve. So I did it. I passed. They were like, we're going to take you. You passed. And I was like, okay, cool. How much is it pay? And they told me, I was like, huh? You're going to pay me that much? They're like, yeah. I was like, okay, how many houses can I buy now in a month?
That's exactly
everything from that job, the lab coat job. I was like, I'm just going to do it for 6 months and then I'll let them go. By 6 months, I can buy at least 6 houses. So that's what I did. I was like, okay. And then it went to 1 year. I let it go last November. I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's too much. Let me just let it go and just focus on my properties. So the goal was from the lab coat job, all the money was dumping into the houses. Just dump it.
You're going to own your own village. So you're like, seriously, I'm like, all your friends and family are going to come over and stay in your places. It's like, I just love what you're doing. It's incredible. You're talking about buying a property a month. That's insane. Yeah. In a good way. I just, for a 3-year span amazing. To be able to learn and scale and just keep going. That's such a, like, you were a novice, like really not long ago. So
thank
stuff.
you.
Yeah. Let's start to wind down the show. But first, before we get into the second to last segment, I'd like to just tell us a little bit about your coaching program and what people can expect from that. And I know that you are a short-term rental coach. What do you give your students?
Okay, so before I go into that, I want to explain how the short-term rental escalated. So and then I'll just wrap that up, and then I'll just tell you a little bit about my coaching program. So me doing the arbitrage here and making that much money and pushing it into my own properties, I was like, okay, I'm renting from this apartment complex. How about I look into getting my own apartment complex for the first time? Like, I'm just doing single families. So I found this property that's like 8 units abandoned, but it's abandoned for 2 years. There was a fire incident that happened there. So I was like, I saw this deal. It was listed for 145. I was able to get negotiated for 120. They just wanted to pay it out and get up. The wife was like, I'm out. We bought this property, wanted to start. There was a fire. The city is giving them all these violations and stuff, but they have worked with the city to get rid of almost all the violations. So when I jumped in, it was already like almost done. The paperwork was already in. So I was like, you know what? I have the money to buy this property. I could do it. So I reached out to the bank again. I was like, I don't want to use my money to buy for 120. Let me see if they can finance it. The bank was like, are you sure? This is not Atlanta. You don't do short-term rentals in small city. I was like, never mind. Don't worry. I got this. I know I rent to travel nurses in Atlanta, but travel nurses are everywhere. It doesn't matter what city, as long as there's a hospital. And it's COVID time, of course, they're in demand. So I was like, okay. I analyzed it, looked at the property. I was like, this is going to make me even a rental, normal rental market rents in the area for a studio will be like $350, $400. I fixed that. So $350, I was like, even if I make like $750, that's still profit. It's more than what the average landlord is getting. So I was like, okay, I analyzed it. Of course, before I present it, I make sure I do my numbers, projection, everything. I sent it to the bank as a package. And I told them, of course, I have a team. Actually, my team, I've built a relationship with that Chester right now that he actually moves into the houses when he's fixing it with his team members. So that's what they did. They moved into the apartment complex and fixed their way down. So it was 8 units, multiple mixture of 2-bedroom, 3 bedrooms. So they started from the top, fixed outside, started from the top, fixed it in. So I have travel nurses already booking while they're still working there. So my contractors used one of the units that didn't have the fire incident, a 2-bedroom, and they moved in there with their fridge and stocked them. I stocked them with groceries and everything. So they would go home. They're like one hour away, their city, and they would just go home in the weekend and come back on Monday and start work again. So before the work was done, the bank actually was like, this is a lot of work. This is your biggest project. We'll give you a 3 months grace period where you don't have to pay, just pay interest. You don't have to pay any mortgage. So within that 3 months, I've already made 40-something thousand because the nurses were just coming in and going. I was just charging premium because I furnished the place. I connected with a local artist that fixed up, did all the nice decoration that you would like, recess lights, everything. It was an old building. So it appraised for like 400,000 from 120. I put in 85,000 worth of work. And that just... Now my cash was like for just one property, it's like 20-something thousand for just that one unit, one apartment. So I was like, I need another apartment. And then I got another one. Then I got another one.
That's why you did the 8 units. That is incredible. That's
why I was like, from now on, it's 8 units and up.
One. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's great. So now you're not just a coach that doesn't have you built it behind you to back it up, right? So what does your coaching program offer then? Are you showing, I guess you're showing other people how to do the arbitrage specifically or buying them themselves? How does it work?
So I like the arbitrage in it, but I feel like right now the travel nurse business has slowed down a little bit. Now that COVID is not as much, even though it's there, but it's very high risk compared to people that you have to compete that own their property because they can bring their prices down or up because they still have a buffer. But if you're renting from someone else and the rents have gone up right now, you have to be your location has to be extremely great for you to make that kind of profit. If not, you'll be coming out of pocket paying. So my long-term goal, even if I'm only teach my short-term, my program, I'm teaching you how to get started in real estate, but my goal is for you to actually own. I'm pushing you towards ownership. Now, you can start doing arbitrage and you can have a mixture like I do. But when you're starting, you can start with arbitrage if you don't have a lot of income to buy for a house, right? Buy a house. Get started with the arbitrage, but don't make that your only purpose. Also, make sure you get your own properties that you own as well, not just arbitrage. So my program teaches both arbitrage and ownership. So it's called arbitrage to ownership. Yeah. So you can do both. You can make sure you at least have some of that you own. Like ownership is everything.
I love it.
Yeah, it's great. My brother just got started doing the arbitrage, and his goal is it's the easiest way to start, right?
Yeah,
because you don't have to have a lot of capital. His goal is to own too. We went right for the owning aspect, but the arbitrage is like, you can make a ton of money doing that. We like all the tax benefits and the appreciation, loan pay down too. So we'll probably stay on the ownership side, but this can work. The cool thing about it is it can work in pretty much every place in the United States. Yeah. And that's awesome. So we did run a little bit long with the show. So we're going to go right to the last drop. But this is one of my favorite questions. Knowing what you know now, Yaamu, based on everywhere you came from, the building of your portfolio, if you could go back and give yourself, maybe your 15-year-old self, your 18-year-old self advice, what advice would you give her?
That's a very good one. I have multiple answers for that, actually, but I'll just give you the first one. I would advise myself that it will come. Like, you're putting that work. So real estate is not like get rich quick thing. It's not like you're going to get it and then you're going to get rich. A lot of people, if they were faced with what we face, both of us, I know you guys also faced some issues when you were starting. You just give up. You're like, this is not for me. You let it go. It's real that you're never going to make money. Real estate is not that kind of game. Get rich quick. You have to actually put in the work. So the first property will scale to the second one, and then you scale, and then you keep going. So what I would have told myself is the work that you put in, and that's just not real estate, just in life. You can't just expect to do the work and have the results right away. You have to keep executing. You have to be determined to actually put in the work, and then the results will finally come out. Not instantly sometimes.
Well, I think the reason why I love interviewing people like yourself and why I'm so motivated, here we are on the East Coast, it's 8:00. Felt like I just woke up, because when I hear stories like yours, the ever thought that I ever had of stopping, I at least for the next, as long as I can think about this episode, I won't be able to stop, because I'm like, if Yaamu's doing this and she's created this legacy for herself and she's built her portfolio, why am I worried about this small problem? Like, it's not a small problem. And I don't mean that and to say that we don't have problems, because we do. And everyone has their own. But I'm saying, if you can live more in that gratitude and like knowing that you have it pretty well compared to somebody else, you can always figure out the next step. And if you just figure out the next step, then that next step will teach you wherever the fork in the road is to go to the next one. For example, we had some serious problems with our properties this year, and we haven't really like talked a lot about it because we're trying to work out some things with insurance companies. But a lot of people would just be like, real estate, man, I can't believe this isn't for me. Yeah. And it is for us, and we know how to deal with it. And so all I'm saying is that if I think about your story and what you've been through, it should help a lot of people say, our problems are not big problems. We can figure this out. And even if they feel big, maybe they can feel a little bit smaller the more problems that we go and have, because it trains your mind. So I just wanted to point that out there.
That's really true. And I do the same thing as well. So I looked at it, I was like, you can't compare yourself to that orphan girl that you're helping in Africa right now. They're in a worse situation than you. You're here. You better fix this. You have homes and you're worried about a pipe busting and crying. This person is worried about, and then I'm like, I should be grateful. This is not even a problem. I can fix this.
100%. So and then you have the ultimate gratitude, right? Because you know what that girl's going through. And then sometimes I think about the problems that we have, and it's like, we didn't have that such severe experience in our childhood that we maybe have to think or interview people like you to figure out, well, look what she's done. Look what she's been through. So I know we've said that a lot in the episode, but it really resonates with me. So, Yaamu, this has been amazing. If people want to learn more about your story, which I would imagine that every single person listening wants to, what would be the best way for people to get in touch with you?
So my Instagram is Building Wealth from Rentals, at Building Wealth from Rentals. My TikTok is also the same, Building Wealth from Rentals. My LinkedIn is all CDC. You don't want to go there. It's all work.
All CDC. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's great. Well, we just want to thank you so much for coming on. I'm not sure how we got in touch, but I'm so glad that we did. And I know people are going to love this episode. So thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it was our pleasure. Yaamu, I said this a lot throughout the episode, but this was one of the most profound conversations I've literally ever had. I almost teared up, honestly. My jaw was on the floor like the first 15 minutes. So
thank you.
You're an incredible person. You're doing incredible things. I'm tearing up right now. It's like, it's so unbelievably motivating and cool that like people like you in the world exist. And you just like, you're so motivating other people. Like anyone that hears this episode is going to feel empowered to at least take a step forward. I don't know how far they go with that. I don't know if they're as badass as you, but keep doing what you're doing. Thank you for inspiring us. And
thank you so much.
To staying in touch. Yeah.
No problem. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks for tuning in this week to the Weekly Juice Podcast. If you liked what you heard, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, and share with friends. The more ratings we get, the more ears we'll get on our show, and in turn, we'll be able to provide you with more high-quality guests. You can also find us on Instagram at Weekly Juice Pod, where we post daily tips and tricks and document our own journey towards financial freedom. Make sure to tune in every Wednesday to get your weekly juice.